Sorry that this video is a little late, but I recently moved out of my trailer, so I've been super busy, and I don't have a craft station set up yet, so the next video might take a little while as well. Today's video, we got as a recommendation from someone on my Instagram, so thanks to Tiny Invasion for this idea. With that being said, let's get started. So I decided to use some clay for the mushrooms. I'm still really new to clay, but I got some cool tools, so hopefully we can make something decent. So I went ahead and just started grabbing some clay and rolling them out into long noodle-like shapes. These are going to be the stalks of the mushroom. And then I squeezed one side down and then also made the other side squeeze down nice and flat. Grabbed a model to make sure that they were long enough, or I guess tall enough for the mushrooms. I made a couple more of these guys. Once that's done, I grabbed one of my tools, dipped it in water, and started to make some grooves, so this way when we paint it later, it looks a little cooler. Once that's done, I tried to make some of this red, well, some of the clay red, so I could use them as red tops for the mushrooms. But I forgot that white and red don't make red, they make pink. So I just made a giant mess and ended up with some pink blob that looks like a tongue. But whatever, we're still gonna use it. I went ahead and just started rolling them up into balls. Once that was done, I grabbed the back of the lid and just kind of squeezed them down to make it easier for me to shape into kind of mushroom caps. So once that was done, I grabbed some more clay for the last mushroom top because I'm not going to make this into a cap. I'm going to make it into one of those stereotypical mushroom tops. So grab some water to kind of smooth out the sides. Then it kind of turned out to look like a nipple, but we're going to paint over that later. I also figured I could go ahead and cut out a little bit of the clay, smooth out the bottom to kind of make more of a mushroom-like cap. Once that was smoothed out, I grabbed my tool and totally made a mushroom cap. It doesn't look like anything else, guys. It's a mushroom cap, 100%. Totally. Alright, I grabbed some of these sticks for later and kind of put them to the side. Ended up using the leftover clay to make more mushroom caps. So I did the same method, just kind of squeezed them, made them into, I guess, thinned them out a little bit, pushed them down. What I did was put these on the sides of the mushrooms, so it's kind of like a big mushroom and then like a small mushroom's already growing on the side of it. So did that. I also added some extra clay towards the bottom to make their own individual stalks. Alright. Once that was done, I kind of just looked to see if it looked okay. It looked pretty decent. So I just kind of put them to the side to dry a little bit. Okay, once that was done, I grabbed those sticks and we're going to use these as stalks instead of having to make clay stalks because these mushrooms are going to be a lot tinier. So I just kind of cut some random bits off until I got enough, and then grab some styrofoam that I had laying around and just poke them with the sticks so this way they would stay in place. And then I used some more leftover clay to make the mushroom caps. Here's how it came out. We're gonna end up priming all these later. So here's where I figured out I'd use some hot glue to kind of put the mushroom caps on the top. Work really fast because they'll break if not. I also grabbed some Mod Podge and some water. Just kind of diluted it a little bit so I could go over the mushrooms, the little ones, and I think I did the big ones later too. I also put them on a non-stick piece of parchment paper. And here's a mistake that I caught later. Well, I didn't really catch it happen, but put the glue on there. I forgot to put the non-stick paper, so they kind of got stuck. and just crumbled. It was so stuck onto the foam board that I was working on. But whatever, we still got 2 of them that came out pretty decent. We're just gonna roll with that. Alright, and then the foam board that I had serves a dual purpose, because we're also gonna use it as the board. Marked off where I'd want the mushrooms to be at, and the shape of the board. I also figured I'd make a little walkway, which will be kind of cool. Alright. Once that's done, I covered the back with Mod Podge and just let that dry. Once it's dry, flipped it over and grabbed some super glue and just glued the stalks on. We're going to reinforce it later. Here's some kind of cool paper mache thing. Couldn't find any of the normal ones that people use, like Sculpt-A-Mold, but figured I'd try this. So I just followed the instructions, and once everything was nice and mixed, I just started plopping it on, and that's going to be our ground. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to make a mixture for the dirt road that's going to be laying down there. Actually, before we do that, we're going to go ahead and try to stick our mushrooms on there. They end up coming loose later, but at the very least, kind of made little holes where I was going to stick them back on later. And then I made a dirt kind of texture paint with some baking soda, glue, and pebbles. I also threw in some brown in there. We're going to use that for the walkway. Okay, I grabbed some more Mod Podge. And then I grabbed some more water. Just to water it down a little bit, and we're gonna go over the, I guess, not Sculpt-A-Mold, the paper mache-ish stuff, just to make sure everything's hardened. We're also gonna go over the mushrooms to make sure everything kind of seals up and stays glued on. Ended up putting more of the mushrooms that kind of fell off back in. So I grabbed some kind of, it's like a khaki paint. It's more ivory than khaki actually. And some brown paint, and we're going to use this for the ground and see how it comes out. Okay. Didn't really like how the brown looked, so I grabbed another lighter brown, kind of dabbed over the spot. I also tried to make one of the mushrooms brown, but I didn't really like how it looked. Like there's too much brown going on. I ended up going with different colors. So always go with your gut. If it doesn't look right, you can fix it. I used a reference photo to kind of get a different type of mushroom style. Started with yellow, and then kind of tried to do like an ombre or like a blend. Then I went in with some orange. And then went in with some red after painting the other mushroom cap red. Once that was done, I grabbed any colors that I liked and started painting the smaller mushrooms. Alright, once that dried, I grabbed a tan color and kind of splotched around the dirt patterns to kind of break up the dark brown a little bit. And then I also used this to dry brush the dirt road. Once that was dry, I grabbed the back of my paintbrush with some white paint and started making those little mushroom dots that you see all the time. I also made sure to get the smaller mushrooms, make sure they have all their dots too. My next goal was to make these weird spore looking things I saw in some mushrooms. Figured it might be easy to replicate with some sand and some white paint. So I went ahead and grabbed that, mixed it all together, tested the consistency of it, and then I did a test splatter on the side. Then I went ahead and just put it on the mushrooms. Once that dried, I went ahead and went back in with some more brown because I got white spots all over the dirt. Then I grabbed some PVA glue and I used a wet brush to kind of blend all that in the spots where I wanted the flock to be. Before the glue dried, I went and grabbed my homemade flock. I used like different variations of green flock. I also threw in some Italian seasonings in there and just mixed it all together. Once that was dry enough, I went in with a gray color and started painting any of the rocks that were kind of poking out on the dirt path. And then I grabbed some watered down PVA glue and put it in a little squirt bottle, but it got clogged, so I had to unclog it and then cover the terrain piece. Now that that's dry, I grabbed some Seraphim Sepia and used that to cover the stalks of the mushroom. And then I waited for that to dry, and I was done. I went outside and took some scenic shots of this nice terrain piece. I really liked how it came out. This project was a lot of fun. It's interesting using a different type of medium like clay, but it's very useful, so I'd recommend it. Always try new things. If you like what you're seeing, please leave a like, subscribe, or follow me on any sort of social media. I'm on Reddit and Instagram. Links will be in the bio. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.